Yes, guys, what's happening? And welcome back to the channel and welcome to today's live stream for the preview of Luton versus Chelsea in the FA Cup fifth round with a place in the quarterfinals up for grabs. I mean, ironically, Chelsea versus Luton Town in the FA Cup a couple of seasons ago was Frank Lampard's last game in charge. He made Mason Mount captain and Tammy Abraham scored a hat-trick. So a repeat of that, I think it was 5-1 scoreline, would go very nicely tomorrow. But it's a quick opportunity for Chelsea to put Sunday's Carabao Cup defeat behind them and get back to winning ways and try and return to Wembley in another domestic cup competition. I'm delighted to be joined by Theo from the Shed End podcast again to preview this game and try and predict a lineup for tomorrow. Mate, thanks for joining me as always. Hope you're well. Not an awful lot to go off for this game. Press conference, obviously just been about an hour or so ago, finished about half hour ago. Apart from the fact that Hakim Ziyech is out, we got nothing in that press conference because despite the fact of Thomas Tuchel saying that, the situation in the Ukraine is terrible, as we all know, he's not a spokesperson for the club, well, he is kind of, but not in that sense. He's not a politician. And he said that, these questions aren't for me. I'm not in a position to answer them. So why then have we proceeded to waste an entire press conference and have another three people try and ask that same question worded in a different way? And rightly so, he snapped a little bit. And if you haven't seen the clip, it's all over social, so do go and check it out. Well, I mean, Theo, how annoying is it? Can you find it as a manager when you're asked about a situation and when a journalist is going to realise that football managers are not politicians? So stop asking them those questions.
It's frustrating. It really is frustrating. I didn't get to watch the full presser. I was on work calls, but I just caught that clip, like you mentioned, of Thomas Tuchel snapping at the journalist. I feel like they need to learn what is acceptable to ask and not acceptable to ask. But obviously them, given the whole Abramovich situation, still running the club, being Russian, they want to try to have that headline for their article, whatever it may be, and try to get as much information as possible. But like you just mentioned, these football managers aren't politicians. I'm all for getting politics involved when it comes to taking a knee, showing your support to Ukraine on the pitch. But when it comes to asking those type of questions to managers who, like Thomas Tuchel perfectly said, he's privileged to be there. He's in a great situation. He's safe. Then he's not the right person to ask those questions to. So I'm all in favour of keeping those questions away from press conferences.
We want freedom of speech within the press. We operate as a democracy in this country. It's not a dictatorship. You don't want to get to a situation where you're having to vet questions before they come in from a journalist or state what is and isn't allowed to be asked. You don't want to get to a situation like that. But, hopefully going forwards, now that this has happened today, unless there's like a significant update, journalists, and it's not all journalists, because there are some very good journalists out there, but there obviously are also some not so good ones, that maybe the penny might drop that actually we're here to talk about a football match. So ask questions about the game. Because as I said earlier, we've got nothing about the game. But we'll talk about it a little bit now. Obviously, disappointment on Sunday. We were both there. We've talked about it at length, so we don't need to go into that again. But being Chelsea, being involved in multiple competitions, the greatest way to get back from a disappointment is to get back playing again and get a result under the belts. And luckily for us, we've got another opportunity 2 days later, away to Luton Town in the FA Cup fifth round. I guess it's the perfect opportunity to put that one to bed, isn't it, mate? In terms of the fact that you don't want to sit on a final loss for too long and to have a game 2 days later. It's kind of the perfect remedy as such.
It really is. If you look at our month of February, we've played 6 games, I think, or we're going to play 6 games in 5 different competitions. So it is actually 5 games in 5 different competitions. So it is really impressive. And like you said, we lost the final on Sunday, but now we've got an opportunity to bounce back in another competition, which has arguably got it's more valuable in the FA Cup, and hopefully should we go on a good cup run, we could be at another final at Wembley in May. So it's the perfect opportunity to bounce back, and hopefully the results come the games come quickly after. We've got Burnley at the weekend, then soon after we're playing Lille in the Champions League away. We've got Newcastle at home, so it's a great opportunity there just to pick up some points in the league, go on a good Champions League run, and hopefully a good FA Cup run as well.
Yeah, obviously we've already got 2 trophies in the bag. Where the Premier League title is gone by all accounts. I know mathematically it's still there, but I think all Chelsea fans have accepted it's not going to happen. We still got the Champions League, which you just never know what's going to happen in that competition. But the FA Cup, having lost the Carabao Cup final, represents probably our best chance of getting another trophy this season. So, how important is the FA Cup to you? We made the last 2 finals, unfortunately lost both of them. This is another great opportunity. You know, we've had favourable draws. We had Chesterfield, Plymouth, and now we've got Luton Town. No disrespect to any of those teams, but you know, it's teams that you'd be quite happy to draw, and a place in the quarterfinals up for grabs. And then we suddenly find ourselves one game away from Wembley again.
Yeah, I always said that Thomas Tuchel was a brilliant knockout football manager. We saw that in the Champions League. We saw that last season in the FA Cup when he beat City in the semis. And arguably, if I had the choice between the FA Cup and the League Cup, I'd say the FA Cup all day. I was at the FA Cup final last season when a limited amount of fans were allowed for that Chelsea-Leicester game. And I was there on Sunday as well. And I can tell you for a fact, I was more pissed off when we lost to Leicester than we did against Liverpool on Sunday. So definitely, you know, like you said, if we beat Luton, next thing you know, we're in the quarterfinals, and then anything can happen beyond the quarterfinals. And there's still some, you know, with the luck of the draw, we could end up, it could be favourable to us, and we might not end up playing a big team. When I say big team, maybe top 6 Premier League team until the final, or maybe the semis. So it's all up for grabs.
It is. I mean, just off the top of my head, you know, there's not that many. Like all the big teams are kind of, well, the ones you'd expect. I know Man United, Arsenal, Holders, Leicester are all gone, but you've still got your likes of your Liverpools, your Cities. I think West Ham is still in. And Everton are still in as well. I know they're struggling in the league, but they're still a fairly big side. So I mean, there's some big sides left in, but some big sides have fallen by the wayside. And if you get lucky with the draw, like we have to say we have been so far, then you know the route to the Wembley does open up, and we could be looking at our third FA Cup final in a row potentially. I know there's still a few obstacles along the way, of course, but it's definitely a big chance, and it's a trophy that I'd love us to win. I mean, just talking on domestic matters, obviously we haven't won the league since Antonio Conte was there, well documented, but Sunday made it 4 domestic cup final defeats in a row. That's our last 4 we've lost. Admittedly, we have won our last 4 European and world finals, but on the domestic front, we've lost our last 4 finals. And for a club of our stature, of our success, history, etc., that's really quite poor. So I mean, what do you feel of our domestic success in recent years? Because it has actually been lacking.
100%. I think had we not won the Champions League last season, all of a sudden you're thinking, have we won any big trophies in the last couple of years? Probably not since that Premier League under Antonio Conte. And our domestic form, like you mentioned, has been pretty poor, especially once we get to those cup finals, like against Arsenal in 2020, like against Leicester last season, Arsenal again in 2017. We've lost them all. Liverpool again this Sunday. It's a bit disappointing. It's all good getting to the final, but if you can't get the results in the final, might as well not be there. So no one remembers a team that came second place. So I do want us to pick up a bit of form domestically. And at the end of the day, FA Cups do look good in a trophy cabinet. And we're one of those teams that was performed so well when we got to cup finals before 2000, maybe in the early 2000s or 2010s. So it's taking a bit of a turn for the worse recently.
I mean, how important on the list of priorities do you think the FA Cup is for the remainder of this season? We've seen Thomas Tuchel in the previous rounds against non-league Chesterfield and League One Plymouth field very, very strong lineups, stronger lineups than any fans would have expected, and stronger than perhaps would be necessary for that level of opponent. So all things would indicate that tomorrow evening will be another pretty strong lineup. He's obviously taken it seriously. And that's clearly the right thing to do. I mean, we haven't got an awful lot else to play for in terms of competitions. It's the FA Cup and the Champions League we're down to again now. So I think it's fully right that we do take this seriously.
100%. Any game Tuchel seems to take it seriously. We saw that the only game maybe that he didn't have a choice was that quarter-final with Brentford, where half the team was out of COVID. But every other game, he's fielded a very respectable starting 11, which is why when we predict the lineup soon, I think it's going to be quite a challenge for us. But no, silverware is silverware. An FA Cup is the FA Cup. But I think in terms of objectives now for the season, it's got to be top 4, at least get to the FA Cup final. Like I just said, once you're in the final, you want to win it. So I want to say win the FA Cup and go on a good Champions League run. Those should be our 3 objectives for the season.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just kind of playing devil's advocate slightly, if the season were to end and we finish in the top 4 and we don't add any further trophies, would you be happy with that?
I got asked the same question yesterday, but my answer was yes, simply given the circumstances of the season. Yeah. Given that we've had some really bad injuries in Chilwell and Reece James, we had probably the worst luck with COVID throughout December and no games postponed. We had that whole interview situation with Romelu Lukaku, which, let's face it, did affect our form, affected how we played as a team, affected his form. So that being said, I would take happily a top 4 finish and maybe not an FA Cup and a decent Champions League run. And also you look at teams like Arsenal who are picking up form. Tottenham will only pick up form now that they've got Conte, even though it's been a bit of a mixed, run of results. United as well, they've got the quality in their team to at least get top 4. So I'd happily take top 4 and maybe no trophies if you told me that now.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, I think the Club World Cup for me, no one wants to lose any finals, but I think I'm probably more glad that we lost the Carabao Cup final rather than the Club World Cup final, just for the fact that, we've never won that trophy before. And it's so hard to get into the Club World Cup in the first place by winning the Champions League. So I am really glad that we added that one and the Super Cup. I know we've won the Super Cup before, but not for a long, long time. And we'd lost it the last couple of times we'd been in it. So those two were really important from kind of a history perspective to get in the cabinet. And whilst it's always disappointing to lose finals of Carabao Cup, you do get a pretty good opportunity at it every year. Whereas the Club World Cup, it's a lot harder to get yourself in there. So I'm delighted to have won those. And yeah, the FA Cup is really important. It takes on huge significance now. And we've got a great opportunity tomorrow. I mean, Luton Town themselves, as I said earlier, we played them in Lampard's last game in charge. We beat them 5-1 at the Bridge.
I think it was 3-1 , I think. Tammy Abraham hat-trick, yeah.
Oh, I thought we might have scored a few more. Maybe not. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. We managed to beat them. It's going to be a little bit harder going to their ground. It's a small ground, a lower league, so I know they're the Championship. But I mean, what sort of test are you expecting from Luton tomorrow night? They're going to be bang up for it. It's a big team coming to the ground. It's going to be a sellout. Atmosphere should be pretty good. This is not going to be as easy as people perhaps think.
I mean, all you've got to do is look at that Chelsea-Plymouth game, start of the month. We all thought we'd breeze past that, and they took us to extra time, and we only got through because Kepa saved the penalty in the last minute of the game. And these small, I call them small, with all due respect, but Championship or League One teams or even League Two teams, when they play these big teams, they've got nothing to lose. Yeah. They've got nothing to lose. We saw it at West Ham against, I think it was Kidminster. We saw it. They just scraped through. We just scraped through past Plymouth. I'm expecting a very tough game. You'd almost rather be playing maybe a Hull or a Stoke at this stage than the Luton or a team that has had that Premier League experience that maybe, has had their time in the fame rather than Luton, who have nothing to lose. So I think it's going to be a very tough game. And like you said, it's quite a small ground. Probably conditions and the actual pitch may favour them because they're used to it. I just wanted to mention it's going to be a special game for the whole Jamal Edwards situation. Yeah. He's from Luton. From a sentimental perspective, it's going to be a big, big game. I'm sure there's going to be some kind of tribute because he was from Luton and a Chelsea fan. But I'm expecting a tough result. I think there will only be 1 or 2 goals in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the gap now, particularly in cup games, it's got a lot smaller between sort of Premier League opposition and those down the lower leagues. As you say, like, it's a dangerous position to be in, to play a team that's got nothing to lose when you're fully expected to win and the opposition has got supposedly no chance, and they're just there to play their game, and whatever happens. Like, for the bigger side, anything other than a win is an embarrassment, really. And for those lower sides with no expectations on them, nothing to lose, it can kind of relax you and just allow you to naturally play your game, take a few more risks. And you can see how big teams do get caught out. So we've got to make sure tomorrow that we're on it. I'm sure Thomas Tuchel will pick a strong lineup or field the strongest lineup that he's got available to him. Again, we haven't got an awful lot of information. He said decisions will be taken tomorrow. But it's certainly going to be a tough one. And if we're not 100% at it, it's going to be one of those games where you can easily come unstuck if you take your foot off the gas slightly. But I mean, it is going to be difficult. I mean, let's get into the team then, mate, because there's not an awful lot to discuss on this game, particularly because we didn't get an awful lot in the presser. So I'm going to bring the screen up now. What formation do you think we're going to go with, to be honest? Because I've gone with a 4-3-3. Again, this can be changed, open to interpretation. Tuchel obviously saying that Hakim Ziyech is definitely out. Not sure on Andreas Christensen yet. Reece James was meant to play 20 minutes, but ended up playing 70 minutes in the Cup. But I mean, apart from that, Trevor Chalobah with his stitches, is he going to be fit? I mean, what are you expecting team-wise?
I mean, like you mentioned, I expect all those players that are doubts or maybe that are injured, they won't participate. It's not the type of game you want to risk them for. Yeah. And a lot of those players that are doubts seem to be centre-backs, wing-backs. I think Aspi came off even injured against Liverpool, which probably means we're kind of short on defensive options. So I do think the 4 at the back does make sense for that reason. But then I'm in 2 minds as well because you look at our recent games against Crystal Palace when Alonso did come on as a natural fullback or wing back, changed the game. He was again brilliant against Liverpool. We've got Reece James who could potentially be back yesterday, but still tomorrow. But that's not going to happen. Then we've got Aspi maybe as well. So I think from that perspective, maybe you might want to be looking at Hudson-Odoi or Pulisic as a wing back. But like I said, it's just so hard to predict a Tuchel formation or even lineup. So I'm happy to go for at the back.
Yeah, because he said today that we have a lot of players with a physical overload. We have some injuries from the match. In the moment, it is too much to comment. It's a massive list. We need to see. We have training today, so they must have training this afternoon. The physios, doctors are working with the players. We are finding out and can take the last decision tomorrow morning when we have the departure to Luton and see who's ready to play. We want to be ready to play. We suffered the third time we played overtime. It was an intense match. This is where we are. There's some difficult decisions to make. Let's go with a back four. I mean, this could be wrong, but we'll just roll with it. Would you expect Kepa to play in goal? After, obviously came on for the shootout, missed the decisive penalty. It didn't go to plan for him. It's just one of those things that happens in football. No blame apportioned to him. Would you expect him to play in goal for this? He's played in the previous 2 rounds. It's lower level opposition. We've seen that Thomas Tuchel does use Kepa in the cup games. So would you expect him to have an opportunity between the sticks tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, he's played in every cup game we've had this season except for that Chesterfield one when Bettinelli played and when Edouard Mendy played on the final on Sunday. So I think it's got to be Kepa. I think it's a bit of a kick in the teeth if he gets dropped for this game. You think it's maybe due to that penalty miss, which it shouldn't be due. It shouldn't be because of that. You don't expect your keeper to score a penalty. So I think it will be Kepa, and I'll be very disappointed if it's someone else but Kepa.
I mean, how do you think he'll react to? Obviously, Sunday would have been very difficult for him. He'd be feeling pretty gutted about it. I'm sure Thomas Tuchel, the coaching staff, his teammates have gathered round him, supported him, helped him out. But that's going to be a tough one to recover from. And I guess from his perspective as well, we'll just want to get out on the pitch and get another game under his belt as soon as possible.
Exactly. I think he made that same, I call it mistake, but had he made, he skied that penalty or not being able to save a penalty in that maybe 2019 or 2020 season, I think his confidence would be at an all-time low. But this is a different Kepa we're talking about. He seems confident. He seems more mature. He seems like he's got the backing of the manager. So I fully back him to play tomorrow and put in a decent performance and look like, he never even made that mistake on Sunday. So perfect game for him to come back and bounce back from.
I mean, this is going to be so difficult to predict because, as you say, Thomas Tuchel's taking last-minute checks on players. But I mean, if we're going with a back four, the fact that we had 120 minutes again for the third time in, less than a month. We had Plymouth, we had a Club World Cup final, and then this final, all going the full 120. Would you expect? Thiago Silva's been absolutely phenomenal and outstanding, and if he's fit to play, he normally plays. But I mean, normally this would be a game where you'd look to give him a rest, but with players that we potentially haven't got available, do you think there's a chance that we could see him again?
It completely depends who plays left back, whether it's Alonso or Sarr. Should it be Alonso, I think we'd play Sarr as a centre back, maybe alongside Chalobah potentially or Rudiger. Depends on Chalobah's stitches, but I think it's not a game you'd want to risk Thiago Silva in. So
we're thinking maybe. I think one player that's definitely going to play is Malang Sarr. I think it's pretty safe to put him in.
So centre back or left back? That's the question.
Oh, that is the question. Normally in a 4, you'd probably stick him at left back, but I mean, it depends who's available. If Christensen's out and Chalobah's out, then I don't think they're going to play Silva and Rudiger. So I think he's going to play. I'm going to roll with Malang Sarr, and I think Antonio Rudiger will partner him. Could you, if we're going with the back 4, could you see that being a plausible partnership?
Yeah, I can see that happening. I think if I'm not mistaken, that was the same partnership that played against Plymouth, maybe. And Alonso was the left back.
Also, with 120 minutes in the tank, those 6 stitches of having not played for 6 to 8 weeks, I'd be surprised if Trevor Chalobah is available to start this game. I mean, it's not impossible, but I wouldn't expect him to start. I mean, do you think that's quite a big ask?
It completely depends. And I think he hadn't played a lot of football before that cup final, so maybe he's still fresh and fit. But maybe it might be a bit of a risky one because he did look like he was in a lot of pain when that initially happened. So, like Tuchel said, he'll pick the team tomorrow or this evening. But I think it's safe to say that he might be dropped just to be as a precaution.
Moving on to fullbacks, and obviously we haven't got the full information on Azpilicueta. This would be the sort of game that he would have played in potentially, but he's got off injured in the cup final, so we're not really sure what the situation is there. Reece James, Thomas Tuchel was saying that he was really only going to play 20 minutes, but he ended up playing 70. This would have been a game that I would have had him down to starting, but obviously with Tuchel having said that in the press conference, it makes me think that maybe he won't start, but obviously he might come through and he could be fine. I mean, presuming he's okay, I guess this is a game that you'd probably start Reece James in.
Oh, 100%. Like Tuchel mentioned, he only planned to play him for maybe 20, 30 minutes and then build up his fitness for this game. And I would have expected him maybe to play 70 or even the full 90 minutes. But after hearing what Tuchel said, I think it might not be James, but then it completely depends if Azpi's fit. So it leaves us in a bit of a weird situation. But I think if you're going on players that we want to see play in this game, I think it has to be James and Alonso as the fullbacks.
Yeah, I was going to say, you come to left back, and normally in a back four, not a huge fan of Marcos Alonso in a flat four, but credit where it's due, and he was outstanding in the final. He had one of his best games in a long time, and it was a reminder of what he can do. We would just be lovely to see that on a more consistent basis. But I guess almost by default, I suppose it's going to end up being Alonso again in some capacity, whether it's a 3 or a 4.
Yeah, it's got to be Alonso. He did play 120 minutes against Liverpool, which is my one worry. But given that we're short on options in that role and that position, I think it's going to have to be him in a left back.
Yeah, I mean, moving into midfield, I wouldn't expect to see N'Golo Kante or Mateo Kovacic in this one. I'd be looking at it, and if we go over 4-3-3, Jorginho seems to have been out of favour quite a lot recently. Not played a lot of football in recent weeks with Chelsea. His form has been a little bit off from the standards that he set himself. This would be the sort of game that you'd probably expect him to come back in and play as that holding player.
Yeah, it looks like the type of side that he'd even captain. There's no Azpi in this. There's no Kante. There's no Silva. You'd expect Jorginho to come in and captain it from that, holding midfielder position. He came on, I think, in extra time to replace Kovacic.
Yeah.
So he won't be very tired. He's got enough, stamina to play the full 90 or at least well beyond the second half. So I think that's the perfect game for him to come in and captain it as well.
I mean, I don't think Kante's going to play.
No.
And I don't think that Kovacic will play either. Kovacic could well be on the bench potentially, but I don't think he'd start in this game.
No.
Which doesn't leave too many options. I think this is a perfect game for Ruben Loftus-Cheek to get a start under his belt, whether it's in a pivot or whether it's in a 3. He did well when he came on in the Champions League against Lille. Obviously, he was unused sub against Liverpool in the final. Would this be the sort of game for him, do you feel?
100%. And like you said, he played well against Lille, didn't play against Liverpool. I feel it's almost, should he not play tomorrow? You start to think, hang on, but Kovacic and Kante played this amount of game time, on Sunday. Yeah. Surely he's no longer favoured by Tuchel in his plans. He only seems to get the odd game maybe every 4 weeks or something. So half a game for him to come in. But then I'm looking at that position next to him. Are we thinking Sao Niguez?
Well, that's what I was about to say. Mm. I mean, if Kovacic and Kante aren't going to start, which I don't think both of them will start, maybe one of them will. But, I mean, I think
you don't want to risk them. You don't want to
risk it, particularly with big games coming up. We've got Burnley away on Saturday. That's arguably more important than this game, you would say. I think it could be Sao Niguez. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be Ross Barkley. And the other options, there aren't really any there.
No. And he did come on against Lille as well, didn't he? I think.
Yeah, I think he did. Mm. And look, he's shown that, obviously it's not been an amazing Chelsea career, but he has shown in his most recent appearances that his level has improved a little bit and he can probably be trusted to do something. So, I mean, you look at that midfield, it's not amazing, but it certainly should be enough to get the job done in there. And particularly with, obviously, options on the bench, potentially Kante and Kovacic, maybe even Mason Mount to come off the bench and go into that 3 if it is a 3. There are options from the bench. So I think it would be wise to rotate and start with that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, go on, mate.
yeah. I was going to say I completely agree. Completely agree. Then you never know with Tuchel if Chalobah could be fit, he might be played in midfield as well. It's an option, but I think I'm really happy with that free based on the players that have played on Sunday, the players that could potentially come off the bench and impact the game, and based on the fact we've got Burnley on Saturday at 3:00.
Looking towards the front three, then there's no Hakim Ziyech. First question to you is: do you expect Mason Mount to play? I'm not sure. From my personal opinion, I'm not sure he will start this game. Obviously, he played 75 minutes roughly in the final. I think that was an indication that he probably wasn't fully fit. And that begs the question. I was a little bit more surprised. Why didn't he get minutes against Lille? That would have been a perfect opportunity to get him a few more minutes. And they weren't taken. I'd be surprised if he started this game. I'm fully expecting to be involved potentially from the bench. Are you expecting Mason Mount to start?
No, because I've got two other players in mind that I think will start ahead of them. But I do expect him to play a part tomorrow off the bench for sure.
I mean, there's no Hakim Ziyech, so he's not going to play. I think for the two wide positions, and let me know your thoughts, I think it'll be Callum Hudson-Odoi and Timo Werner.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I actually forgot about Hudson-Odoi. I was going to mention Pulisic, but now that you've said Hudson-Odoi, I think those are the two I'd go for as well. Because again, he didn't play a part on Sunday, Hudson-Odoi, did he?
No, he didn't play a part at all. And this will be a good opportunity for him. Christian Pulisic did play Sunday. Don't know what his fitness levels are like, etc. So it's hard to tell. But I mean, this would be a good opportunity for Callum, and he's missed a couple of games with a bit of a sore Achilles or whatever it was. How important is it for him, though, if he does get this opportunity from the start tomorrow, that he does impact the game? Because that left wing position is still kind of up for grabs. No one's really cemented it down.
Yeah, I mean, Hudson-Odoi, we all know he's a fantastic player, but he lacks that consistency. He had that good run of games where I think he started 7 or 8 in a row through November, December. And then since then, it's been in and out of the team. We don't really see him as the goal scorer, from that position we were looking for. Yeah. So it's a big game for him to, get a goal or an impressive display and really cement his way back into the team.
And then going to the right-hand side, obviously the positions of the front three might change. But, I mean, Timo Werner, I think this is a great opportunity for him. He came on Sunday. He looks okay. He's quick. He's direct. If he could just learn the offside rule, it would be ideal. Because this guy, honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a footballer who is offside more often than Timo Werner is.
Morata.
Maybe Morata. But I just don't understand it. Like, it's not hard to be onside. Like, come on. The guy just needs to stay onside. But, I mean, he's not played a lot recently. He's probably, if we're being honest with ourselves, he's probably going to be sold in the summer if we can find the suitor and recoup maybe 30, 35 million. I think Chelsea will look to sell Timo Werner. What did you make of him when he came off the bench?
I do like with Werner when he comes on, he brings energy, he creates space, he makes those runs that we want Lukaku sometimes to make, even though he's offside most of the time. But like I said, he just has that energy and a bit of charisma and he adds something. And I think if he can do that, from kickoff, if he starts games, then it's perfect. He's only got 1 Premier League goal this season, which is really poor. But
that's awful, yeah.
But like I said, mentioned about Loftus-Cheek, if he doesn't start tomorrow, I think it's an indication that he could be sold in the summer, which I still think it will happen. But yeah, it'll be very, very indicative that he would get sold. So I think he needs to start tomorrow just for his confidence, just for him to get game time, get minutes. So I'm going to go with him on that right wing position.
Yeah, I think it would seem like the obvious choice given the amount of minutes a lot of the key players played on Sunday. We've got important games coming up. And this is a great opportunity for the likes of Hudson-Odoi, for the likes of Timo Werner to show Thomas Tuchel and give a reminder of what they can offer. And it's in these cup games, these are the opportunities you've got to take to try and get a regular place in the league and perhaps show that you deserve to be in the team and actually be at this club. I mean, these are the sort of games that it's getting to the stage of the season now where, particularly for Timo Werner, performances are going to affect his future at the club. It's as simple as that. So these guys have now got to start delivering and show that they deserve to be part of the plans going forward, because there will be changes in the summer. That's for sure. Heading to the final position on the pitch then, we've seen Kai Havertz take the number 9 position for the last 2 games. He played 120 minutes in the final. I wouldn't expect to see him from the start. I think this is a game that we'll see Romelu Lukaku from the off. And again, like we said with Callum Hudson-Odoi and Timo Werner, this is an opportunity for Lukaku against lower league opposition to try and get some confidence, put a performance in and get a couple of goals. How important is it for him? I think it's obvious he's going to play tomorrow, that he impacts the game and has a decent performance.
Yeah, it's the type of game to play him to show that he still has the manager's trust. He still wants to be in the manager's plans. And like you said, similarly to Hudson-Odoi and Werner, play lower league opposition, maybe get a goal or two, get his confidence up. And to be fair, when he came off the bench against Liverpool, even though his movement was a bit poor at times, he looked a bit sluggish and slow. That goal he scored from that position with an armpit hair offside, it was a good finish. It was a very good finish. And that's what he's still capable of doing. So I think tomorrow, if he's able to score a couple of goals similarly to that, then, it would do him a good, boost his confidence. He still scored 2 in the Club World Cup. We need to remember that. So I think, it's a no-brainer for me. Lukaku is the number 9.
I think what helped when he came on Sunday is that we were playing kind of counter-attacking football, and that definitely suits him. Like, the more possession we have and the more possession-based the game is, the less effective he becomes. I'm not saying we're going to suddenly become a counter-attacking side, but I don't think there was a coincidence at all that when we were more counter-attacking on Sunday, he looked a bit better. And, that goal that he scored, that was obviously ruled out. That was a reminder of what he can do. And if we get the ball to him in those positions, more often than not, he will finish it. So there's still an opportunity for Lukaku to redeem himself this season and prove that he does have a Chelsea future. But it's in games like this where you must take these opportunities and show your quality, because in the games he's played against Chesterfield and Plymouth in the Cup, he really didn't step up to it. So it really is vital that he plays, that he plays well in this game. But looking at that team, mate, look, I don't think it's going to be a million miles off that. I'm sure there'll be a couple of surprises. There might be a different formation, but you look at that and you think, there's some rotation in there, but it's more than strong enough, isn't it, to get the job done? Yeah,
I'm looking at the team. If you can't beat Luton with that team, we might as well not be in the FA Cup. I think there's still another couple other players that could play a part. Harvey Vale, he was on the bench, I think, for the Lille game. Was it?
Possibly.
If Hudson-Odoi is not fully fit, potentially he could play a part. I forgot his name. I think it's Lewis Hall, left back.
Lewis Hall, yeah.
He was very impressive against Chesterfield. That's another option.
It would be nice to see some of these younger guys, but I think Tuchel's shown that actually in these cup competitions, despite the opposition, he goes really strong. We didn't see any of those youngsters at all against Plymouth. We only saw one from the start against Chesterfield, which is Lewis Hall, and Vale came off the bench. Like, the way I see it at the moment is I don't think those youngsters, unless there's an absolute injury crisis, are going to get any look in.
We're too far in the competition maybe to consider playing them.
I think we might be a little bit too far in. With a place in the quarterfinals up for grabs. And I think it'll be interesting again as well to see any potential Lukaku Hudson-Odoi link up, because we've seen it on a couple of occasions. Aston Villa, Lukaku, Hudson-Odoi setting up Lukaku.
World Cup.
And the Club World Cup as well. Do you think there's potential for a decent partnership to form there?
Definitely. I think what we've always spoke about with Lukaku is he lacks that service, which sometimes he doesn't get when playing alongside Havertz. Sometimes he doesn't get with the Pulisic or even Mounts potentially behind him, because those are the type of players that sometimes want to penetrate in the box and do it themselves. But Hudson-Odoi is that type of player. When he gets into the box, I find his decision-making is awful at times. Yeah. But if he can actually put in those crosses like he did against Aston Villa, like he did against... I think was it Palmeiras or Al Hilal? I can't remember which.
Yeah, Palmeiras.
Yeah, Palmeiras. It was, Then that could be a decent partnership.
No, 100%. And I think this is a good opportunity to get that. We need to strike more partnerships up at the front end of the pitch. And I think that could really help us as we head into the business end of the season. What's this? Hit the like button and subscribe. Yeah, make sure you do that, guys. Thanks for your support. Mate, last thing before we wrap up then. Score prediction for tomorrow night. What are you thinking? We've not been scoring a lot of goals lately, but we put in a big performance at Wembley in that final. We did play really well, our best performance in a long time, and I think it led more credence to the fact that essentially currently we are basically a cup side. Having said that, there could be a bit of a come down from disappointment. 120 minutes in the legs. We need to get ourselves up and go again. You expecting many goals in this one?
I want to say yes, because it is lower league opposition, and seeing that lineup is still a very strong lineup. Loftus-Cheek as well. You need to consider he's got goals in him. We haven't seen it this season, but he's got goals in him. If Lukaku finds his shooting boots and has that partnership with Hudson-Odoi, I can see us scoring more than a couple of times. So I'm going to go with 3-1 Chelsea, which will be an identical scoreline to the last season.
Yeah, I think it's about time we scored a few goals. We haven't. I can't remember the last time we really scored more than one in an important game, like in a big game. I'd say it's. Oh, I mean, I know we scored 2 against Plymouth after extra time, but I mean, generally speaking, like in league matches and stuff, we haven't scored more than one for. Well, we scored 2 right at the start of the year against Liverpool, but other than that, we have been struggling for goals. So it'd be nice to get 2 or 3. I'm going to go with a 2-0 win. I think it'll be a professional performance from the lads, and we'll kick on and put Sunday behind us. But yeah, it's going to be a lot closer than people think it's going to be. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, leave your thoughts in the chat, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you smash like on this video. Please do subscribe to the channel. On the road to 400 subscribers, not too far away now. So please do subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this now or you're watching it back and you're not subscribed, just click the button. It does really help me out. Theo, thanks for your time as always, mate. Guys, make sure you subscribe to Theo's YouTube channel as well. I've got it across the banner and it should be linked in the video description below. So go and check that out, and the podcast as well. Mate, thanks for your time as always. Massively appreciated. Always a pleasure. And guys, let's hope for Chelsea to return to winning ways against Luton tomorrow night, book our place in the FA Cup quarterfinals. And I'll catch you in the match reaction on Thursday. Until then, up the Chelsea and take care, guys.